Tonight, the man who was acquitted of killing Tina Fontaine has been arrested by Ottawa police.
This is a problem that's built up through generations, and it's not something we easily eradicate overnight. But I think we are making progress.
Grappling with racism, White Lives Matter signs were found in North Battleford. Some residents say they're ready to leave town.
For the lodges to be a home for our children and our young people that are lost out there.
And honoring a young life with a new lodge. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. The man accused of killing Tina Fontaine has been arrested in Ottawa. Raymond Cormier was arrested by Ottawa police on March 16th for allegedly breaking into numerous apartments in Ottawa since January. It's unknown how long Cormier has been living in Ottawa, but at the time of his arrest, he was staying at a local shelter, according to police or to court records. Fontaine's body was found in Winnipeg's Red River in August 2014. The 15-year-old's murder sparked a massive outcry across the country and eventually led to the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Cormier was arrested for her murder in December 2015, but always maintained his innocence and was found not guilty in February 2018. Fontaine's murder remains unsolved. An Ojibwe family from Curve Lake First Nation in southern Ontario is not only mourning the loss of their loved one, they're fighting to get justice for the young woman. She had passed away earlier this year, and they wonder why the man accused in her death has yet to have his charges upgraded to murder. Here's Annette Francis.
This waterfront at Curve Lake's powwow grounds is a special place for Savannah Taylor because it holds great memories of her sister, Elina.
This place is pretty special just because it was our last good day of smiles, laughs, great memories. My sons will remember their auntie as the master frogger. And that's how I want them to remember her.
On September 3rd, the 22-year-old suffered severe brain trauma due to an alleged assault by her boyfriend, Jordan Moran. Moran has been charged with aggravated assault and assault causing bodily harm. She never awoke from the coma, and in February, the family made the decision to remove her from life support.
I think it was more painful seeing her suffering, but the day that she crossed over and went to the spirit world was a weight lifted, and it was just, she's not suffering anymore. She's no longer in pain. We don't have to see her trying to communicate with us.
Are you?
I am 4 years older. I have had my sister's back since I was 6 years old. I've protected her throughout her whole life, and this one night I couldn't protect her.
Now, after months of hardship, the family are calling on the Peterborough Police Services to increase those charges to homicide. APTN News asked the Peterborough Police why charges haven't been upgraded. They have not responded. But in an online statement, they say the investigation is still ongoing. Lawyer Krista Big Canoe says it's a reasonable request in seeking justice for Elina. Moran is currently free on bail. But Big Canoe points out that he is currently facing 2 other separate charges of assault.
So he's an accused within the system, but it's very telling that in this short time frame, he's had multiple charges of violence and that he seems to not be able to maintain or keep the rules that he's been given in order to be out. So he has breaches for not following his conditions of release, yet he's still walking in the streets.
Curve Lake Chief Emily Wheatung says the community stands with Selina's family.
It's important that the entire world receives the message. Indigenous women, all women, have value. And when there's a history of assault on an individual, and then the passing of a young woman, that the crime there has to be recognized. It has to be pursued, and justice has to be served.
Taylor says she's thankful for all the support during her grief.
A sister's bond is something so much more different than anything.
Annette Francis, APTN National News.
Leaders and residents of North Battleford, Saskatchewan say racism is a major problem in their city. In fact, some people are saying it's so bad that they want to leave. But as APTN's Priscilla Wolfe tells us, Indigenous and non-Indigenous community members are also saying don't give up hope.
These White Lives Matter signs were put up in North Battleford soon after the RCMP watchdog report on the treatment of Colton Boushie's family. They have since been taken down. Mayor David Gillen says racism cannot be tolerated.
It's unfortunate to hear that, we're doing a lot to try to erase this sort of behavior and also to make people feel safe.
Shanda Ernest, who lives in the neighborhood where the signs were put up, says she's more than disappointed.
White Lives Matter is like, and it comes like right after that that report, it just doesn't sit well. It just internally just doesn't feel good. And to think of like, okay, well, this report came out and then somebody just gets the idea to put up these White Lives Matter posters.
Ernest says she is fed up with the racism in her hometown and plans to move because of it.
I was talking to my husband the other day and we kind of came to an understanding that North Battleford isn't in our future. I don't feel like we should be raising our children in this area, considering that people could like put things like this around the city.
The chief of Little Pine First Nation, Wayne Samaganus, whose community is near North Battleford, is disappointed that Ernest thinks racism is so bad that she wants to move.
And it doesn't paint a good picture for our community when we have mothers and fathers want to take their children away because they don't feel safe, they don't feel accepted in the community, they don't feel like they're part of the community, and they don't feel there's a future in that community.
Samaganus says racism is an issue that has been here for a long time, but there is hope.
This is a problem that's built up through generations, and it's not something we easily eradicate overnight, but I think we are making progress.
Chief Samaganus and Mayor Gillen both sit on the Battleford's Regional Community Coalition, a group that focuses on relationship building. Gillen says the White Lives Matter posters are being dealt with.
It's actually been reported to our local RCMP, so they will look into it and see if it meets the definition of hate and if there's any legal way that these people can be dealt with that way.
Priscilla Wolfe, APTN National News, North Battleford.
To British Columbia now, where coal company Teck Coal has been fined $60 million for contaminating waterways in southeastern British Columbia. It's the largest fine under the Fisheries Act in Canadian history. To two charges of releasing selenium and calcite into the Elk and Fording rivers for a full calendar year in 2012. That's in Tunaha territory in southeast BC. The fines amount to about $80,000 for every day the coal company polluted the rivers. The company acknowledged its actions devastated life in those rivers. Members of the Tunaha Nation told the Canadian press fish stocks were obliterated and people alienated from their land and water. Is back to having 0 cases of COVID-19, but it could be some time until Nunavut's 2-week medical quarantine is lifted. Nunavut officials took questions from reporters today in Iqaluit and explained the particular problem facing Nunavut. You need to be 18 to take the vaccine, but close to half of Nunavut's population is younger than that. According to Nunavut's chief public health officer, that slows things down.
That's one of the reasons to continue to maintain at least some of those other public health measures. Me getting the vaccine protects myself as an individual. If I maintain the public health measures, wearing a mask, maintaining distancing, and avoiding large crowds, that helps protect all the other Nunavummiut who cannot get the vaccine at this point.
Meanwhile, the Yukon is reporting its first case of a COVID-19 variant. Yesterday, officials announced there were 2 new cases of COVID-19. One is linked to international travel and is presumed to be a variant of concern. The specific type of variant is not yet known, and the sample is undergoing further testing. The second case is a non-Yukon resident and is connected to an outbreak in another jurisdiction. Both people are in isolation and are said to be doing well. And coming up on APTN National News, a team of Quebec archaeologists have a bone to pick with the municipality just outside of Montreal.
Across the frozen St. Lawrence River, just outside of Tiohtià:ke, known today as Montreal, is the quaint municipality of Notre-Dame-del-Perrot, home to swaths of thick, undeveloped forest, soon to be clear-cut for housing development. But under the upturned soil and refuse, archaeologists believe exists proof of settlement by a prehistoric Indigenous nation, not far from the banks of the river they used for travel. It's a potentially groundbreaking discovery, but it hasn't prevented developers from breaking ground at the site. So what remain, and who's responsible for protecting them? I've been doing some digging of my own. I'm Lindsay Richardson, and I'll tell you more about what I've found coming up soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back. In southwestern Nova Scotia, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans is threatening the Migma to remove a building from the Saulnerville Wharf on Monday, a building that symbolizes their treaty relationship with the Crown. It has been sitting at the wharf since last fall. It was vandalized a couple of weeks ago and has been repaired, labeled Treaty Truck House 3, sorry. Last Monday, Jolene Marr received a letter from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to remove that truck house from the wharf, or DFO will remove it on Monday. Marr is preparing for direct action, while Shabaganagadie Chief Mike Sack says the truck house is staying put.
Putting our position forward that we don't want the truck house removed, and we have a, right to put one there. And
so I guess I'm going to have to chain myself to it. And any support who comes, I know we're going to put ourselves in front of the truck house and not allow it to happen.
Quebec tabled its 21-22 provincial budget this week. The biggest investments are in infrastructure and health care, but missing from this year's budget is an increase of targeted funding for First Nations. In 2020, before the pandemic hit, Quebec earmarked $200 million over 5 years for Indigenous Affairs. This year, an additional $2 million was added to create a task force for missing Indigenous children, and access to education also received a small boost. But for now, Minister Yann Lafrenière believes the initial $200 million investment is enough to continue responding to the Vienne Commission's findings.
Now this is phase 2 for me until June. And then for the last part of it, phase 3, my intention is to establish my priority directly with First Nations. So that will be the part that we will decide together. I asked them to be patient for phase 1 and 2 because I was basically answering call to action from the Vienne Commission. So there was no need to sit and talk about it. We're doing that together.
It's been 1 year since a Northern Alberta chief was roughed up by RCMP, and still no action has been taken, he says. In this dashcam video, Chief Alan Adam was stopped by RCMP in Fort McMurray for an expired license plate. During a confrontation, an officer is seen tackling Adam to the ground, punching him and putting him in a chokehold. Adam was charged with resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. Those charges were later dropped. Now Adam is calling for an end to racism and violence within the RCMP.
Abuse, violence, humiliation, and racism. It is very, very ugly. The needs to end all of this needs to end now. Promises to take actions are not enough. Over a year ago, when I was beaten and my wife was manhandled, the Prime Minister promised action. There has been nothing done to date.
Last fall, APTN told you about 9-year-old Arizona Cardinal. She had terminal brain cancer. Well, unfortunately, Arizona passed away last month, but her family is helping to keep her spirit alive. They are building a lodge to help teach youth about traditional ceremonies. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
Arizona Cardinals' life was too short. On February 7th, she lost her battle to brain cancer. Arizona had many supporters. Last Halloween, dozens of people visited her outside her house, dressed as Jedi and witches. She was too sick to go trick-or-treating. Her uncle, Andre Bear, says that Arizona loved practicing her traditional ceremonies and helped wherever she could.
Most of all, I would spend time with her in ceremonies. She was always at our sweat lodges, our sun dances, any kind of ceremonies that we would have with our ceremonial family. She was there, and she loved to sing. She loved to learn our ceremonial songs and take care of the children that were there while all of the parents were in prayer.
Now Andre Bear wants to keep her memory alive by building the Indigenous Turtle Lodge at her home in Alexander First Nation on Treaty 6 territory. Construction is already almost half completed. He has started a GoFundMe to help raise money to continue construction.
This Turtle Lodge is to be a home for our children and our young people that are lost out there, that don't have access to our ceremonies, that don't have access to our medicines. We believe that every Indigenous child has the right to know who they are through our ceremonies, through our spiritual practices.
Having a permanent location for teaching will help bring more youth to learn, says Bear.
We're already doing the work. Our elders are already conducting the ceremonies consistently, and they're doing it without a paycheck. And they have been doing that for decades. And so what this is, it's about formalizing this foundation in this home where we can reach more young people and have more involved.
Fred Campion has been teaching youth about ceremonies for over 30 years. He's Arizona's adopted grandfather. He helps youth learn Cree as well as teaching about ceremonies.
Really hands-on. We go onto the land. A simple thing like making a fire. Where do you start? How do you start? You know, these are survival techniques as well. Like, we need to know how can we live on the land the way our ancestors did in case there's some changes in the world.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, St. Albert, Alberta.
Well, it's time for another break, but here's a look at something that we're working on for you.
Hey everyone, I'm Daryl Stranger, and coming soon on APTN National News. A First Nations-owned virtual reality company is using its tech to promote Indigenous culture across Canada. They have recently launched a competition called Share Your Roots, and they're looking for Indigenous artists, storytellers, knowledge keepers, and those offering Indigenous tourism opportunities. That story is coming soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. This one comes to us from Pakatawagan First Nation, located in northern Manitoba. That's mother and daughter Teresa Biggity and Helen Biggity. They send out some thanks to healthcare workers. If you have a picture and you would like to submit it, you can send it to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we got -1 and some showers for St. John's, snow for Fredericton and 1 degree. Sunshine up north there, -14 for Kuujjuaq, La Grande River -3. Chibougamau 5 degrees and mostly sunny. Some snow in Montreal, 9 degrees. Toronto 11, mix of sun and cloud. Same with Ottawa. Sault Ste. Marie 5 with mix of sun and cloud. 1 and some snow for Thunder Bay, -1 Big Trout Lake. Snow expected there as well. Sunshine and -3 for Thompson, -5 in Pakatawagan. 4 and some showers for Winnipeg, 2 and sunshine for Dauphin. 4 and sunny in Swift Current, 1 and some cloud for Saskatoon. 5 and sunshine for Meadow Lake. Uranium City's -7 and some sunshine there. Snow and 2 degrees for Peace River. Fort Chip, -5 and snow. Sunshine for Red Deer, 10 degrees, 15 and sunny for Lethbridge. Kamloops, 11 and showers. Bella Coola, 8 and some rain there too. Mix of sun and cloud and 5 degrees for Fort Nelson. Prince George, cloud and 7. Whitehorse, 0 snow expected there, -5 and some snow for Beaver Creek.
Fort Liard and Trout Lake, both -5 and snow. Mix of sun and cloud, -18 for Fort McPherson. Paulatuk, -25, clear skies. Chesterfield, -15 and snow. New Yacht, -20 and snow there too. Igloolik, -23 and snow. Sunshine though for Kenite, -14.
The National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation has a new executive director, and for the first time, the centre will be led by a woman. Stephanie Scott officially stepped into this new role earlier this month after serving as acting director since last year. Brittany Hobson sat down with Scott and brings us this.
Stephanie Scott has been with the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation since 2016. She started there as Director of Operations. In October 2020, she became acting director. Now, she is officially leading the centre.
When they called me, I really almost felt like I was going to faint because I was in disbelief that such a gift would be given to me to continue to do the work.
Scott is Anishinaabe from Roseau River First Nation. She was born and raised in Winnipeg and was adopted out to a non-Indigenous family as part of the 60s scoop. Prior to joining the centre, she was manager of statement gathering with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This work took her across the country. It's still work she cherishes today.
My favorite thing is working with survivors. I mean, every day that we approach a subject, whether it's missing children, it's how do we educate Canadians, they're really the strength and the voice behind the work that we do. And I don't do this alone, so I really work with them and help to amplify their voices.
In September 2019, Scott was part of a special ceremony in Gatineau, honoring the thousands of children who died while attending residential schools. She helped unveil a ceremonial cloth with the names of 2,800 children. Under Scott's leadership, the centre will begin work on Phase 2 of the Missing Children project. The TRC and the centre have identified more than 4,000 children who died. But Scott knows there are more.
The report, all the names, attendance. And then here's usually where they would have remarks or comments, and sometimes you would see.
The centre is also launching a new website. It includes a new database that will make accessing records easier. While Scott may have never seen herself in this new role, all the work she's done leading up to it has made it clear the centre remains important today.
Reconciliation isn't dead. We have to continue moving it forward, but it's just not the responsibility of one person. It's going to take everyone, Canadian, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, to do the work.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Congratulations to Stephanie on that new role. That is certainly not light work. Well, we are all out of time for your news tonight. I'm Melissa Ridge, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with your APTN News Weekend. Have a great night.